back with Margot Rose. We left you yesterday on kind of a cliffhanger,
That's right.
but to catch you up, you got to go back and listen to part one. Don't be stupid and just be tuning in now and thinking you're going to understand the story. You understand nothing. Go listen to part one. I like to berate my listeners. They
No,
enjoy
it's
that.
good. I like it.
So, you were sober, but your marriage had come to
And end,
the
pretty
end.
much. Yeah, yeah.
But you were doing okay. You guys had agreed. You were
I
was
was, I was, I, w- I regretted moving. I moved out in their last year of college, 5 minutes
okay.
away, 5 minutes away, 5 minutes away, and I thought I was going to come back, and I thought, I was wrong, and I regret it more than anything else in my life because of what happened then and the next year.
Why did you move out? Were you just like, fine, I'm gonna just go be on
No,
my
we
own?
we we dealt with our different crumbling relationship for a number of years. And um, at a certain point, I, the kids were getting older. They were even more, there was more visitation. There were a lot of other court things that happened. They were still legally ours, but they were split up a lot. And my self-esteem was non-existent, because our dynamic was such that I was the one she was the alpha dog. It wasn't her fault any more than, that's just the way we ended up. And and it just got into my head that if I move my physical being and have my own space, and the kids are going to their senior year of high school, um, it will be better. I will be a better parent. I will be a better person. I'll start working, I'll be working on my acting. I'll be working on my writing. I'll be all this stuff. And it was really it was almost like a geographic, I think. Um,
Hmm.
I was sober, but I thought that thing could solve it. Do you know? And I was seeing somebody, Pat was seeing somebody, I was seeing somebody. Everybody was out in the open about it, and nobody was crawling along in the shadows. Um, in retrospect, I wish I hadn't seen that person, because it didn't, I don't wish I hadn't seen that person. I wish that I'd had more, just more consciousness about it. Do you know? Because I jump into things, I'm impulsive. I think, well, this is going to solve all my problems. And even though I was sober, and even though I'm sober now, I have a tendency to do that. I'm a quad diagnosis. I'm an alcoholic, and I also have a lot of physical stuff, and I have ADHD very badly, and an abandonment disorder, all sorts of things I've been diagnosed with. Um, so I have to ride that pony, I have to ride that pony. The thing I know now after all this time and all these things that have happened is that you just hang on tight. And they say that at the beginning, but sometimes it takes a lot to get to that. So I moved out. I regretted it right away. I missed the kids. Will was okay with it. Nora was angry. And that was awful. We had a very hard time. And then I was not myself when I was with her, because I felt insecure, and, oh, she's mad at me. Um, Will would stay over every once in a while. Nora almost never did. She never did. She did once. She did once in 2018. So time went on. They graduated from high school. Will got into Texas State, a performing department at Texas State, and Nora got into UCLA musical theater, which was very prestigious. She wasn't all that happy. She'd wanted to go to the East Coast. She wanted to go to Emerson. She wanted to go to the covered Lee. They're both enormously talented. Nora was a triple threat. She was a beautiful dancer. She sang and she wrote songs and she acted. I mean, she was extraordinary. You met her, didn't you?
Yeah.
Did you meet her? Yeah, you met her. Um, and we did meetings at our house on Hesby sometimes, and whenever we were there, the kids would be running through and back and forth. And so there are all sorts of people that I know from then, that I still know, that didn't know her well, but had met her,
Yeah.
had been around her.
Yeah, they were
Um,
sober adjacent.
yeah, sober adjacent, exactly. anyway, so I had moved out. So in 2008, and I was struggling. I was struggling to find my footing to, I was still sober, but I was seeing somebody and that wasn't working very well. And I just didn't know where to land, you know. I didn't I didn't realize I really had my place was with my family. Um, so 2018 goes by. Nora and I are getting better. We spent some time in the summer. She's at UCLA. And it's Thanksgiving. I have a tough Thanksgiving. I go up to my sister's because I don't know where else to go. My relationship with this other person has gone south. Pat's with her relationship, and the kids have gone to their dads for Thanksgiving. So I'm like, ah. I went to my sister's in Napa, and I came back. Will was going out to Texas. Nora's staying in town. So I got back, and it was November 25th, right after Thanksgiving. Um, she and I texted. She asked me to take her, if I'd take her to school in the morning to UCLA. And I said, yes, I loved taking her to school because you drive with your kids and that's when they talk. Do you know, that's when they talk. It just some sort of miracle. And we were getting better with each other and the relationship. And that was November 25th. And I was sitting in the Gelson's parking lot and I'd been texting with her an hour before. And well, I don't talk about this, but then she called and I answered and there was nothing there. And she called again and I answered, there was nothing there. And she called a third time. So we don't know what that was because it was after the accident happened. So it was about 7:30 on a Sunday night. And I got a text from her dad saying she's had an accident and she's at Northridge Hospital. And right when I got that text, a siren went by, and it wasn't the same. I was in Studio City, but something in me dropped out and just dropped out. And I drove over there, in a panic and praying the whole time, saying, please, 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 just please, please, please. There was something in me that knew. And I got there, and she'd been in a catastrophic car wreck. And she had been pinned in the car. They had to get her out. She had a terrible head injury. The doctor at Northridge, it's a trauma hospital, um, had done surgery on her. Um, the dad gave permission. But he had said afterwards, he said, I wouldn't have even tried, except she was young and healthy. So he did surgery, and she was in a coma, and she was admitted to the critical care unit. And and for a while there was enough brain activity to make it make sense to keep her on the machines. And then the third day, the brain activity pretty much stopped. It was the brain stem. Um, and she was beautiful in that bed because there was all the side of her head was bandaged, but the rest of her was beautiful and perfect. So it was, you know, at best surreal. So we were all there. We got in touch with Will. We got him back from Texas. He got there the Monday. Um, and so everybody, the dads, the moms, Will, a couple of people that we let in, but not many people came into the room itself, were there. And my friends and sisters in sobriety were there. Somebody found out and somebody told everybody. I remember, I think it was Deb and Vicky, and there were four, and Kelly and somebody else that were at the emergency room with supplies and food and what do you need? And I got texts constantly, and I knew that everybody was there. And on the fourth day or fifth, I mean, she came in on a Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, the decision was made to turn off the machines. And and we turned off the machines, you know. Um, that was 7 years ago, a little over 7 years, 7 years and 2 months. And I can't even explain what it was like, Steph. It was just, I was alone too. I was living alone at my apartment. Sophie, my pit bull, Sophie saved my life. She saved my life. Um, and I went to our big Saturday meeting 2 days later. Um, Barb picked me up and took me. And and while, I mean, 15 minutes or so into the meeting, I couldn't do it. I was sobbing. And she led me outside. And I fell on my knees. I just fell down on my knees, and it was Greek. I was just, I mean, you know how in meetings it brings up your emotions anyway, and stuff that you've been holding on to just bubbles up, and suddenly you're crying, or suddenly and that's what happened. And I'd been, crying and beating my head against the floor before, but that something erupted that was huge, and I was just wailing on the street. And one by one, by twos, by whatever, all the women in that meeting came outside and held me. There was a circle of women around me. That's what sobriety was. They all knew, everybody knew, you all came and surrounded me. And despite that, you know, I couldn't any longer figure out how I fit. Because things that we say, like acceptance is everything, no, I don't accept this. I don't accept this. I'm still looking for the easy button. I'm still looking for the magic. I'm still looking for the time travel. That went on and on and on. Um, Everything is not of my own making. No, all the things that people say were like, no. And suddenly I felt different. I felt outside of it. And P.S. I couldn't, I didn't know how to go home to my empty place. I didn't know how to do that, even with my wonderful dog. I could not do that. And over the course of a couple of months, I'd been taking CBD for all my fibro and everything. Over the course of a couple of months, it started including THC. It started including active drugs. And I never drank, but I started just doing edibles, doing, gummies with
You
more
wanted
and
to
more.
feel altered. Like
I had to feel altered. I just couldn't, do you know?
I don't even want to hear like the I shouldn't have.
Yeah.
It's not, it wasn't, I wasn't so like, who, fuck that. Like,
Yes, I
this
agree.
was, this is what we want to do. Who wouldn't want to alter? I
Yes.
mean,
And
I want to take a THC edible right now, hearing the story, let alone
I
if it
know.
happened
I'm
to
thinking
me,
about the sativa. It's like great.
right? I
But
mean,
yes,
let's
and
just
if
be reasonable with ourselves. Like, you did what you needed
yes.
to do to get through what you needed to get through.
Yes. And I've really worked hard not to have shame about it, because I think that's a thing that takes us back out a lot. I've seen it
And
happen.
makes people not want to be in a program if
Right.
they feel like
Right.
people are going to judge, or even that we need to judge ourselves. Like, it doesn't, it's okay.
But
It's okay
here's
with
the
me.
yeah, thank you. Thank you. I've always known that, Steph. I've always known that you
Yeah.
don't have that, that judgment. And most of the women I'm close to and the people I'm close to don't. There's so many people, all the women, all the moms, they're like, can't imagine, whatever you need to do. Um, and here's the thing. I went out because we lost her, and I could not figure out how to live. And I came back 2+ years later because I'd written a show for her. And it wasn't really finished. I continued to work on it for another 3 years, but, or another almost 4 years. I mean, I worked on it for 6 years total, through 4 surgeries and a pandemic. But I'd written this thing. I had promised her that I would be the artist that she wanted me to be, because she used to she used to get right on me. She used to say, I don't talk about this. I do, but not too much. She said to me a couple of different times when she was like 18. I think our daughters become our mothers sometimes. They get wiser. And she said to me, Marm, I was Marm, you have the most talent of all of us. You could do anything. What the fuck is the matter with you? Why don't you? It's like, well, you don't know what trauma is. You don't know what this is. And and I didn't even say that. I was just kind of floored that she would say something like that. But when she was in her coma, a friend of ours from the progressive school they'd gone to, when I was talking about how I didn't want to do anything anymore, and I just, I don't know how to live, and I told her that story and about what Nora had said to me, and she said, "Well, that's what you have to do." And she was like iron about it. That's what you have to do. You have to promise her that you will do that. You have to promise her that you will be the artist she wanted you to be. And I did. I went in and spoke to her and I told her that. And it's a you can't break that kind of promise. You can't. So I started working on this show and not knowing what it was going to be exactly, weeks after. And Anne, who's also program, I had talked to her before that about helping me with this other show. And so she knew what had happened, but we hadn't spoken. I called her a couple weeks after and said, Anne, I still want to work with you, but it's not the same show now. And she said, yeah, I know. And she, here it is, this person in our meeting that came to me and became my dramaturg for the first year. And but you know, I slipped out. I was doing edibles. I never drank. I hardly ever even smoked a joint. It just seemed too much to me. But the way that I got along was popping edibles, and they absolutely got me high. I mean, there's no, you know, there's,
Were you, just out of curiosity,
yeah,
since this is like a sobriety story
yeah.
podcast, were you going to like weed stores and like were you starting to think about it? The similar to the alcohol, were you like, oh, okay, I'm gonna have my
Oh,
gummy
honey.
tonight?
Oh, honey. All right. First of all, as time went on, at first, it really was like a drug deal because I always went to the higher path because they were primo, and I would drive and
Love these weed store names.
oh
Those are
my
my good
God, and
ones.
I would order. You could order, call up or order online, and then you would drive the back, the back way and pull up to the back of the store. So it was like din, 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 and they would run out with your little bag. And then after a certain period of time, they started delivering. Are you kidding? It was like heaven. Delivering. Now, P.S., I can't tell you how much money I spent because it was a lot. It
Right.
was several hundred, I mean, it's at least $100 or and more a week. I mean, it
Not
was a
covered
lot.
by insurance.
But not covered by insurance. No, it was not.
Necessary, but not covered.
No, and I think I said this when I shared the other day, and I do believe this that if I that doing edibles, doing THC, getting yourself um altered, whatever, would have been okay to do instead of Xanax and a bunch of pharmaceuticals if I wasn't an alcoholic. If I wasn't an alcoholic, it would have been a great plan because then I could stay away from all the pharmaceuticals. But this horrible, unimaginable thing happened, and I could get along doing that for a while. But if I wasn't an alcoholic, I wouldn't have progressed. I wouldn't have started doing more and more and more. So
There's people that I know that are sober, but they do take
CBD.
edibles. No, edibles. I'm saying not people that you and I know, but
Oh,
there's
yeah, that they
people,
consider.
right, that consider themselves
Yeah,
sober or
California sober.
yeah,
Yeah.
California sober and they take edibles. And
Mhm.
it used to trigger me a little bit because I would think like, well, that's not fair. Like
That's
I
not
would like to do
fair.
that too.
Why can't I do that? I
Right.
know.
Like, why can't I just be California sober? I won't
Yeah.
drink. But the thing is, once you know about yourself, once you
Yeah.
have admitted to your innermost self, I know for a fact I would also be like that. I
Yeah.
would be thinking about it in the morning. I would be
Yeah.
like, can't wait for
And
tonight
it
so
would
that I
creep.
can.
It's like, yeah, I plan the same way I thought about alcohol. I
I want to
planned
be
when I
high
would,
a lot.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And it just, and it escalated. First it was 5 minutes, then 10, then it was like, and it escalated. I never, my wreckage was not as noticeable as it would have been. I never drank. And I think my recovery, because by that time I'd been around for a long time. I think my recovery was up here all the time. I didn't forget that. I didn't drink. I didn't, do other drugs.
Were you
I
going
just
to meetings during that 2 years?
I did for a while, um and it was all, pandemic Zoom. So I didn't go to in-person meetings, but I would go to meetings and just kind of sit back and not share. And after a while, it was like I kept going for quite some time, and then I just couldn't because I wasn't going to say I was sober. Do you know?
Yeah.
At a certain point I was just like, I'm not going to do that. So I wasn't. I don't even think sporadically after a while. But here's the thing, Steph. I went out because of the loss of my child, but I came back in 2021 because I'd finished a first draft. It, went through a lot more, but I'd finished a first draft, and at that time I was supposed to go to New York to do a solo festival. And I didn't because this terrible thing happened. I got an obstruction in my stomach, and they had to put me in the hospital. It was like last minute, all of a sudden I collapsed, and they took me to the hospital. It was whatever, God or my body saying, you're not ready to do this. But before we started really getting into it and rehearsing and, singing the songs, doing the things, trying to get it directed, um, I knew I couldn't do it if I wasn't sober. I knew that. I would talk to my kind of temp sponsor, Bird. She wasn't really my sponsor, but I talked to her all the time, um, and say, I know I can't do this if I'm not sober. And I set a date, September 17th. Okay, that's it, because then I have to start rehearsing. And so I went out because of losing her, and I came back because of the promise that I made, because I knew I had to be sober. I couldn't do this 85-minute, like I couldn't in a million years. And I got sober. And it, oddly enough, I guess, because, that's all I'd done is pop edibles. I mean, I can't say I didn't think about it, and I don't still sometimes. Like, darn it, I like that, yeah, sativa. I like that, blah, blah, blah. I love it. I love it. But I'm not at the edge of doing it. And as long as when I stopped on September 17th, 2021, it wasn't hard. Again, just like when I stopped drinking, it wasn't that hard. Maybe because I had purpose, maybe because I had to do this thing. I don't know, because every day is still hard, it's never ending when you lose a child. But I don't know, maybe because of that unimaginable wound, when I got sober again, I feel like I've been more conscious, more willing, um, just more honest and different than even my other sobrieties were. It's just deeper. I don't know if it's being older or because of her, because of having a broken heart, but it feels stronger than it's ever felt. And I've got not quite 4.5 years now.
I
Four
think
and a
that's
half years.
amazing. And I've watched you deal with this and be brave and show up at meetings, even when I know you didn't want to be there.
Yeah.
And I mean, kind of overused and trite, but it's inspirational to think that you can still be sober even after the absolute worst thing. There couldn't be anything worse that could
Yeah.
happen. And you're a person who's been through that, still going through that. It doesn't go
Yeah.
away. We've talked about
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
But the fact that you're even trying I mean, you are sober, but I'm saying the fact that
Yeah.
you would even try,
Yeah.
I just feel like it would be so much easier to just go like, why? Why am I gonna like feel that every day? And I mean, this is
Yeah.
we
I
drink because we're alcoholics, right? Like, I
yeah.
mean, I start
Yeah.
because it works. Because it
Yeah, because
worked
it
when I was
works.
14, and I'm sure it would still work now. It's just that
We like being altered.
we love it.
Love it.
Love it.
Love it.
You have people that
Love
don't want to
it.
be altered. Are you
And I
crazy?
like being altered like pot and all that much more in comparison to being sloppy drunk. But I love to be altered. I loved cocaine. I loved edibles, and I loved when I got drunk. It was just that was something that I could handle better when I was younger, and it never has appealed to me since. But man, I love to be altered.
The
Absolutely.
problem is not that we didn't want to be altered anymore. The problem is that it doesn't work to be
It
altered
doesn't
because we
work.
can't function in our lives.
No,
Like,
we.
you reach a point where you're like, look, I was relating to, and maybe this was in part one, but that idea of like a window cracked open,
Yeah.
my bottom, and it sounds to me like in both your cases, the bottom, it's not that the bottom was so low, it's
Mm-mm.
that I just had a moment when I recognized that I was not functioning and this was going somewhere bad for
Yeah, and
for
I think
me.
we're similar that way because um, we're both what could be called high bottom drunks. But one of the things that, I've come to realize and believe is that there's kind of no such thing.
I
Do you
agree
know?
with you. Yes.
Because
Fully
everybody's
agree.
bottom is what it is, right?
Yeah, but that bottom for me was like the window opening was going, "Oh, here I've done this thing that I couldn't imagine myself doing,
Right.
and yet I did."
Hmm.
Driving in the car after
Yeah, with
having
your
many
kids.
drinks.
Right.
And then I had that epiphany of like, oh, well, I will do that again because why wouldn't I? Because this is how I am when I'm drinking. I think
Right, right.
things make sense. I think I'm way more sober than I am. That was my big thing. I always felt like I'm fine and I don't
Hmm.
understand people looking at me with judgment like I'm
That's
drunk when
right.
I'm not
That's right.
drunk.
That's
So
right.
I had a moment, the window opened, and I was like, I could stop. I mean, it's going to be hard. I could ask for help and stop this behavior that is clearly risky for me. And I don't know. It was like jumping off a high dive because I was like, I don't know all that it's going to entail.
Right.
It doesn't seem great, like having to realize stuff about myself, but I need to do it. So the window opened. I climbed through it.
Yeah, and I think my window opened too, but I feel like when I think back on it, it was more like I was hypnotized or something because she said that said you're an alcoholic on the phone and something just went boink, like Star Trek into my brain, like, boink, and I hung up and I was like, okay, I'm an alcoholic, and I was weeping and sobbing and t calling Gwen and saying, but I also just like went to a meeting. I found a meeting. I went to a meeting, and it was sort of like I was in a trance almost, and I wasn't as conscious about like now is the time and I have to stop. It was just like all the tears come. Oh, I see. I go to a meeting and then something is lifted. And that's I feel really fortunate about. I've never particularly, I mean, yeah, sometimes it looks good and all that kind of stuff. And especially with edibles sometimes. Yeah, I like it, but I don't white knuckle. And I feel really like I'm a very I don't think you do either.
No, same. Well, I think I reached a point where I was like, if I do this again, and even when I think and romanticize, like,
Yeah.
oh, but all the people that are California sober, maybe I could do that too. Or even
Right.
the times that I go,
Romanticizing it.
I've been
Yeah.
sober 16 years, like, maybe I could handle it now. Like, I got sober when my kids were really young. Like, this is just sometimes,
Oh
not
yeah, sure.
often,
You
but
spin
sometimes
it.
my
Spin
brain
it.
goes, or I
Hmm.
hear about somebody or I see something and I go, my kids were so young. I was a very stressful time. I had postpartum depression. Like, maybe I could drink. All I have to do is remember how I was before, right before I came in, how
Right.
I was when I was 14. And I'm able to go, like, why would you possibly think it will be any different? There's never been a time, you've never had an example in your
That's
life
right.
since you started drinking of a
That's right.
time where you just drank because you just enjoyed it. You just
Right.
handled it well.
Right.
Never from the first time it went sour, the
That's
very
right.
first time I drank.
That's right.
It's like there's so all I have to do is think about that. It's the think through the drink. And then I go, yeah, probably not a good idea for me to take even one edible with THC because I will enjoy it.
I will love it.
I will love
I
it.
will love it. I will want to do it
And
again.
I will
I
not be able
will
to stop very
I will not be
easily.
able to stop.
No. And
I
then I
mean,
won't get any of
you know,
this. How am I going to
yeah,
have
I
a
won't, yes.
podcast? How would
Yeah,
you do a
exactly. I
show?
won't be able to
How would,
share it,
right,
right?
right.
I would not in a zillion years be able to do this thing that I'm doing where I'm on a stage for 85 minutes and it's all my words and music and songs and how in God's name does that happen? I don't even know.
Yeah.
You
So
know?
tell us about the show.
It's called Unconditional. And I describe it as sort of a love letter to my family and
By the
the
way,
pro
I've seen it. It's beautiful.
no, thank
And
you,
you have a
honey.
gorgeous singing voice and it's so moving. You're going to cry. Go see it. Yeah. Okay. Keep
You're gonna
going.
cry, go see it.
I'm sure
Yeah,
it's
I mean
different now.
it's our story, but there's a lot. I mean, the thing that I worked really hard on and worked with Anne on too, I wanted to have I didn't want people to walk out, want to slit their wrists. And it is hard sometimes. But I wanted to put in a lot of what was, even with all the turmoil, even with everything between me and Pat and with all the dads and all that stuff, what was magical and lovely and, just the best thing I've ever done with my life, absolutely the best thing. And I wanted to have that on record. I wanted to make it a lovely thing, a lovely thing that was sad in times, but also just magical and whimsical too, And so that, I mean, that's, there's a lot of stories about the kids when they were kids. There's when they were born, there's what it's like to be a gay couple and have this happen when you're in your 40s. And, how crazy is that? Um, and what it's like to have to stand up and, I mean, I think there's so much that we all can identify with how do we go on? Because so many losses are, I mean, loss is loss, do you know? Loss is loss, and then we wake up and find ourselves in 50 pieces on the floor. And it's like, how do I go on today? How do I fit these pieces? Oh, this is actually my leg. It goes over here. How do we put ourselves back together and just one every day at a time? Not, it's never done. It's never done for any of us. I don't think it is. I think we wake up every day, whether we're alcoholic, whether we're not, and just like, how do I do this today? And especially now with the world the way it is, And especially with all the people that died in the pandemic. I mean, our world is tough, you know? So I guess I think that's what I want people to take away from it is yes, resilience is I don't have the right to waste what was taken away from my daughter. She didn't get this life. I wake up and it could be just a fucking nightmare or it could be really lovely and magical. So it's a gift beyond measure to be able to wake up in the morning, and she didn't get to have it after 19 years. So
Margot, I love you.
I
I
love you,
love this
Steph.
conversation. I love
I
your
do too.
openness. I love how kind you are, but also funny and with some edge.
With
And
some edge, we love edge,
I
Steph.
love this episode, these episodes, and I just think
Yeah.
I can't thank you enough for taking the time
I'm so
to
happy
do
you
that.
asked me. I'm so happy.
Oh.
It's about time.
And so tell us again, okay, do you have dates? You have dates for the
Yes,
show
well,
that I can put on the
we have one date at the LGBT Center in Hollywood, and I'll have postcards and stuff and all that.
is it
It's
is it
February
next month?
28th.
Oh, February
February,
28th. Okay,
February 28th.
I will put it in the description of the episode.
Great.
I'll do a link for the tickets. Yeah, and I will see you probably in the next few days.
Yes, you
So,
will.
okay.
I love you,
Bye
Steph.
everybody.